Welcome back to Ben Keenan Just Can't Stop Talking. First and foremost, if you hear my voice, I have a cold. Okay, I get it. I sound absolutely disgusting, but this is what you're going to get if you want to see and hear from me this week. So I do owe you an apology. I realized from some DMs that I actually never told you all that there would be no episode last week. That's not me just like not doing it. I was supposed to tell you originally, like, I'm in New York for a wedding. I have a lot of events. I don't have time to sit down and film and edit. Therefore, there will be no episode this upcoming week. And then it came and went. And then I got a lot of DMs that said like, hey, thought you were putting something up. And I didn't. And here we are. And here's my apology to you. Speaking of apologies, there are a couple people I owe texts to. So the ones of you listening are not the only ones I owe stuff. Okay. And then third, you'll see this, but you won't hear this. Yes, this is a bowl of ravioli. It's Christmas tree shaped though. And like little bells from Costco. But I'm a busy boy. I don't have time to necessarily eat and film. So we're doing it at the same time. And you just won't see me eat. I'll edit that part out. Okay. As a reminder for those of you that may not have been here before, what we do every single week is count down the top 10 things that have happened so that you can be a little bit smarter about a lot of things. Impress your friends. So it's everything you need to know. I always win trivia. This section of trivia of things that are like current events, I fucking have locked in. And so I'm helping you. You don't have to do it for trivia. Just do it for your own knowledge. But we're talking about everything that happened from not the upcoming week, I guess, technically the last week. But this way you could talk about it in the upcoming week, you know? All right, without further ado, let's get started. First, we're not jumping directly into the top 10. I do have an honorable mention that a lot of people were talking about. Trump was named Time's Person of the Year this week. So just a reminder for those of you that don't know how Person of the Year is decided by Time Magazine, it's just generally the person who had a lot of influence in the world. It's not the person that had good influence. It's not the person that was the most popular. It's just somebody who had a lot of fucking influence. It sucks. No matter which way you square it, it sucks that Donald Trump is the person of the year. The fact that they picked somebody who is a sex predator, the fact that they picked somebody who's a 32-time over felon, the fact that they picked somebody who's a liar, the fact that they picked somebody who's a cheater, the fact that they picked somebody who doesn't care about, at minimum, 50% of the country to be their person of the year sucks. However, there is a precedent for this because they always choose the person who was just elected president as their person of the year for that year. For example, in 2000, it was George W. Bush. In 2004, it was George W. Bush. 2008 was Barack Obama. 2012 was Barack Obama. You see where we're going with this. 2016 was Donald Trump. 2020 was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And then 2024, we have Trump again. Presidents. That's the way that they do it. If Kamala had won, she would have been person of the year this year. So we just need to stop pretending otherwise, okay? If you're curious, other winners, let's go back. 2001, Rudy Giuliani, because of, I would assume he was the mayor in New York during 9/11. 2022, the whistleblowers. I don't know what that is. 2003, the American Soldier. I don't know what that's for. 2005, the Good Samaritans. I don't know. 2006, you. So technically, I was person of the year, and so were you. Congratulations. What a lazy fucking answer from Time, but good for us. 2007, Vladimir Putin. Who the fuck would have thought that would happen? 2009, Ben Bernanke. I don't know who that is. 2010, Mark Zuckerberg. Is that about the same time that Facebook kind of popped up? 2011, the protester. 2013, Pope Francis. 2014, Ebola fighters. I forgot about Ebola during that era. 2015, Angela Merkel. 2017, the silence breakers. So that was during Me Too. 2018, the Guardians and the War on Truth. I think that's about newspapers during the Trump administration. 2019, Greta Thunberg, she's the really young, like, climate activist. 2021, Elon Musk. 2022, Volodymyr Zelensky and the Spirit of Ukraine. So that was during the attack. And then 2023, Taylor Swift, which you already knew. But once again, because Trump is still Trump, nothing has changed. Time Magazine did have to do a fact check on the interview that they always do with the winner. They had to publish that online. So if you're really interested, go read that. I'm not going to because I know everything he said was going to be a lie anyway. And it's just nothing new. But if you're interested, Time did publish their interview and then they published a subsequent fact check. All right, for the real countdown, number 10, Donald Trump Jr. was spotted out and about with his apparent new girlfriend, socialite Bettina Anderson. So for those of you that have not been tracking Don Jr. closely, which I assume would be most of you, he was with Kimberly Guilfoyle for, 6 years since 2018 between dating and engaged. So for those of you that don't know her background, I think she was the ex-wife of current Democratic California Governor Gavin Newsom. So everything just kind of falls into place, right? So on Tuesday, he was out and about holding hands with socialite Bettina Anderson in Palm Beach, which is down in Florida. I didn't know who she was, so I decided to look her up. She is a newly 38-year-old model and activist who describes herself on Instagram as a, quote, typical stay-at-home mom, only I don't do household chores or have a husband or have kids. So I did a little digging into her social media. I thought she would be a little bit bigger considering she's dating Don Jr., is labeled as a model and a socialite and an activist. But at the time of recording this, she only had about 42,000 followers on Instagram, which I'm not saying isn't a lot. I want to make that clear. I'm not saying that's not a lot of followers, but for comparison's sake, on Instagram alone, I have almost 61,000 and I'm not dating a Don Jr., right? Like you would think that he would bring somebody a little bit more grandiose, over the top to be dating because he wants to impress daddy. She's the daughter of the late banking mogul Harry Lloyd Anderson Jr., who became the youngest bank president in U.S. history when he took over Worth Avenue National Bank at just 26 years old. Additionally, she appeared on the 2022 cover of Palm Beach Illustrated, which is a magazine where she discussed her nonprofit, the Paradise Fund, which aims to, quote, educate and spread awareness and causes of ongoing changes in weather patterns that ultimately become natural disasters. Girly pop, that's climate change. That is what you're asking about is climate change. You're raising money for climate change. And my guess is you're going to have to say goodbye to that if you're dating Don Jr. Yeah, that's not a long-term plan, right? Because you know that they actively don't believe in climate change. But I mean, maybe you can convince them to believe in ongoing changes in weather patterns that ultimately become natural disasters. Don Jr. and Bettina were first romantically linked back in August when the Daily Mail published photos of the alleged couple eating lunch in Palm Beach, with the publication saying that they were seen kissing multiple times. According to People, Kim already knew about this. She was just, quote, looking the other way. So it's like he's straight up cheating in front of your face and you chose to look the other way. Well, probably because she has a national platform and it's like worth it at that point. Well, you might be asking yourself, now that they're out in public, what in the world is happening to Kimberly Guilfoyle? Well, just hours after the photos went live, Trump actually nominated her to be the U.S. ambassador to Greece. Don Jr. then congratulated her on social media, hopping on Twitter to say, I am so proud of Kimberly. She loves America and she always has wanted to serve the country as an ambassador. She will be an amazing leader for America first. Womp. In response to the nomination, she then hopped on social media, posting on Twitter, quote, I'm honored to accept President Trump's nomination to serve as the next ambassador to Greece, and I look forward to earning the support of the U.S. Senate. President Trump's historic victory is bringing hope and optimism to the American people and to freedom-loving allies across the world. It was the democratic values born in Greece that helped shape the founding of America. Interesting, the founding of America. And now we have an opportunity to honor that history by bringing better days here at home and abroad. As ambassador, I look forward to delivering on the Trump agenda, supporting our Greek allies, and ushering in a new era of peace and prosperity. All right, sounds good. Ship her off. While this all might seem nice and cordial between Don and Kim, in an exclusive to People magazine, they revealed that Don Jr. and Bettina, quote, waited for the election to pass to nudge Kim Guilfoyle out of the area. So she was exiled by Daddy Trump to Greece, literally exiled because Don Jr. was dating somebody else that he thought, this is not me saying this, he thought would be more impressive because apparently Trump had issues with how Kimberly Guilfoyle dressed. Weird. I don't know. He thought Bettina would be more impressive for Trump, which all makes perfect sense because he wants Daddy's approval. So he starts dating Bettina, leaves Kimberly out to the side, then goes public with Bettina post-election. Trump then nominates her to the ambassadorship in Greece, literally is shipping her overseas, and then she responds, thank you, sir. Girl, they're playing in your face. Number 9, James Kennedy of Vanderpump Rules and also of being a C-list DJ was arrested on suspicion of domestic violence. So on Tuesday night, James Kennedy was arrested on a charge of misdemeanor domestic violence. According to People, the Burbank Police Department was called to Kennedy's Los Angeles home on Tuesday around 11:30 p.m. regarding an argument between a man and a woman, a police spokesperson confirmed. They said the investigation determined it was a domestic incident leading to his arrest. He was booked for a misdemeanor domestic violence and later posted bail. Formal charges are pending review by the Burbank City Attorney's Office. So according to TMZ, they were the first people who got it, and you're just reading it everywhere after that. According to TMZ, citing a law enforcement source, a witness reportedly saw Kennedy get physical with the unnamed woman, although authorities did not see any injuries when they arrived on the scene. He was released on $20,000 bail per the outlet. It is unclear if the woman in question was his girlfriend, Ali Luber, but the pair had been together earlier that night at Kathy Hilton's annual holiday party. A source tells People the pair spent much of the night apart and didn't show much affection towards each other. Another insider source told People, quote, James was acting super aggressive all night long. He was acting so erratic, running back and forth to the bar and body checking people along the way. He appeared inebriated, spent the evening mostly alone, but when he did speak to people, he appeared appeared irritated and rude. So it sounds like there was definitely like something going on. In a statement in response, James Kennedy's attorney said, quote, "We are in the process of conducting our own investigation into the allegations levied by the Burbank Police Department against James. We understand that there were no injuries, and we are hoping that after careful review, the city's attorneys will decide not to file formal charges." Like I said earlier, they didn't know if this was going to be his girlfriend, Ali Luber, who was like the his victim, I guess. Like they're all still working through it, but the unnamed woman, they don't know if that was his girlfriend or not. But notably, the next day, Ali Luber, so the girlfriend, was hosting an event for the clothing brand Windsor for their New Year's Eve celebration at Short Stories Hotel in Los Angeles. This was just hours after James Kennedy was arrested. And at the same time, James Kennedy's ex, Rachel Leviss, shared an Instagram story from TMZ. The headline on the story said, "James Kennedy DV arrest was a misunderstanding. Girlfriend Ali standing by DJ." She then went on to say, this she being Rachel Leviss here, quote, "The amount of times I convinced myself that the abuse I endured by James Kennedy Giorgio was a, quote, misunderstanding is sickening." So it sounds as though if there was some sort of domestic violence charge here, it is not the first time that he has behaved this way. Exes have clearly come out and said that he has behaved this way. We will just have to see how this all unfolds. Oh my God, side note, my ears are super plugged right now because I blew my nose. So I might sound less congested, but if I'm yelling at you, I can't tell because they're plugged. Okay, number 8, North Carolina Republicans did a, quote, lame duck power grab in order to strip Democrats of power statewide. So in November, Democrats statewide gave the Republican Party a literal shellacking. They took the governorship, they took the attorney general's office, they took the lieutenant governorship, they took the head of public instruction, so the person in charge of all the public schools. They won just a fuck ton of spots. They actually took away the entire North Carolina supermajority in the House and the Senate. So they're no longer allowed to just like veto whatever the governor, which is now a Democrat, can do. Well, the Republicans don't like losing. So in response to that, they actually did a whole bunch of shit to strip the Democrats, the incoming Democrats, of power under the guise of a hurricane relief effort for Western North Carolina bill. So basically they said, hey, we're going to put a whole bunch of money, like hundreds of millions of dollars towards hurricane relief for Hurricane Helene that happened back in like October. We're going to put this in a bill. I guess only like 13 of the 131 pages in the bill was actually dedicated to hurricane relief. Everything else was dedicated to stripping power away from the incoming Democratic establishment. Basically, it's fucked. In response, on Twitter, the North Carolina Democratic Party said, quote, "Republicans just enacted revenge on the people of North Carolina for electing Democrats instead of their extreme GOP candidates, and in their cowardice, hid it behind the guise of a Hurricane Helene relief bill. We won governor, attorney general, and the head of public schools. We won the right to the powers and duties of those offices. That's what the people chose. Instead of respecting their will, the GOP passed SB 382, gutted the powers of those offices, and took it for themselves. Republicans seized a majority of the power despite winning a minority of the votes. We are livid, and the voters of North Carolina should be too. You were cheated of the power of your vote." I mean, that pretty much sums it up. You were cheated. You said, I want this. But the outgoing Republicans just said, like, I know. Well, I know you said you don't want us, but guess what? We want us. And we're going to take just a little bit of power for ourselves. Well, I decided to look up what exact powers were being taken from the Democrats, and I'm just going to read through them now. The powers that the Republicans voted for: prevents Governor-elect Josh Stein from appointing members onto the State Board of Elections by transferring that authority to the Republican Auditor-elect Dave Bolliak. It makes the State Highway Patrol an independent agency and requires the governor to get the General Assembly's approval for a 5-year appointment. If a Supreme Court or Court Appeals vacancy emerges, the governor must fill it from a list of recommendations provided by the political party of the departing judge, thus preventing him from filling a potential GOP vacancy with a Democrat. It removes the seats of Wake County Superior Court Judge and the Forsyth County Superior Court Judge, both who have ruled against election law changes that GOP lawmakers have put forward over the years. It prohibits the Attorney General from participating in lawsuits that undercut actions taken by the General Assembly. The bill says that Jeff Jackson, who is the incoming Attorney General, quote, "shall not, as a party, amicus, or any other participant in an action pending before a state or federal court in another state, advance any argument that would result in the invalidation of any statute enacted by the General Assembly." So if the General Assembly, like Republicans in the House and the Senate, said that like, oh, we want this, the Attorney General cannot speak against what the Republicans want, even though they voted in a Democrat. It prevents the lieutenant governor from chairing committees on energy issues. The bill also eliminates the Energy Policy Council, proposal, which has been chaired by the lieutenant governor. So they just said, no more energy for you, lieutenant governor. It prevents the Democratic superintendent of public instruction from appealing decisions made by the Charter Schools Review Board, and it reduces the time frame that voters can, quote, cure the provisional ballots, which means you have to go and like signature match or fix a dating issue or whatever, from 9 days to 3 days. Provisionals tend to favor Democratic candidates and proved essential in the Supreme Court race for Allison Riggs, who just won, I think it was by like 600 votes or something like that, 6,000 votes. Yeah. So all of that basically is saying like, hey, so we've seen the issues that we had before. Fuck your energy policy. Fuck your voting rights. Fuck any power that you have of changing the law that we don't like. But like, thanks, voters of North Carolina. Number 7, former representative and former Trump Attorney General pick Matt Gaetz is joining the One America News Network as an anchor of his own show, The Matt Gaetz Show. As a reminder of who Matt Gaetz is, he is a far-right firebrand. He is the Republican congressman who actually got Kevin McCarthy kicked out of the speakership role. He was the one that was under investigation in the House for sex trafficking as well as having sex with a minor. He then got nominated by Trump as Attorney General after a plane ride. Like, he wasn't even on the short list. It was they landed and then he was nominated. He then quit his current term in Congress and resigned his next term, which he had just won re-election for. Then, because of all the sex trafficking and the ethics report stuff, he didn't have enough Senate votes. So he then withdrew his nomination for the Attorney General's position. And everyone's like, oh, you should still release the ethics report because we have a right to know if this man is a danger to us in the state of Florida. And then, of course, Republicans voted no, that they didn't want that released because it would look really bad for him. If Marjorie Taylor Greene says that it's going to look bad for somebody, you know it's going to look bad. So the House, which you should be pissed at, just decided, we're not going to release it. So sorry. The ethics report won't be made public. And now he's going to go be a news anchor because in America, as a Republican, but especially a white male Republican, nowhere you can go but failing upwards. And honestly, I don't care if he goes to OANN because he is an insane person anyway. And it's better that he does his insane shit over there where only a select group of people are watching as opposed to being the head of the Department of Justice. Number 6, Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco got engaged.
And yes to this. It's so oh my God, it's so beautiful.
I know some of you may have seen this video that I put on TikTok already, but it was just the idea that like Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco, really? And everyone's like, ugly people can be married to beautiful people too. I said not one fucking word about his looks. As a matter of fact, I do love when people do not look exactly like the people they marry because I think that speaks more to their personality. Just having seen a lot of Benny Blanco over the years, I just was confused. I'm not confused that they were dating. I'm not confused that this was going to come at some point. It just was confusing, you know? Like, we all ask the same question, right? Anyway, on Wednesday night, Selena Gomez took to her Instagram to post pictures of her ring and her fiance, I suppose, considering it was 4 pictures and we didn't see Benny Blanco until the 4th one. It was literally like 2 pictures of her with the ring and then a picture of her on a tablecloth with Taco Bell. So it kind of seemed a little like a Taco Bell ad. We could talk about that in a second. And then it was her and Benny Blanco at the very end. Like, I guess we all knew who you were getting engaged to, but that's kind of weird that the final picture is Benny Blanco. And they've only been dating just shy of a year. Like, they started dating December of last year, which is like, I guess, a billion years in Hollywood time. Like, most celebrities would have been in like 6 relationships by then. But overall, so like, I guess this engagement isn't a surprise, especially because back in November, she hinted that he was the one, describing the relationship as, quote, the safest she's ever felt, telling The Hollywood Reporter, quote, I guess this is the safest I've ever felt, told you, in a relationship, and I see a future with this person. And when you put a little bit out there, people are not as hungry to hunt you down. Like, if they hear something, they're going to, but if you're like, I did it, they're like, oh, well, there's you just going to Sushi Park. But there's so much more to my relationship people don't see. That's just mine. God, I hate when outlets just report absolutely nonsensical quotes. Like, I read that word for word and there are so many commas in there. I just had a very difficult time repeating it, I guess. Also, I'm sick. It's fine. However, more surprising news, at least to me, would be if Taco Bell did indeed sponsor this engagement. Like, if you're looking at the blanket, and I'll put the picture up here if you're actually watching this on YouTube, there's a picture of Selena Gomez with like a perfectly placed box of Taco Bell it's facing. Taco Bell's her favorite food, so it wouldn't be surprising. And then there's like a tray of nachos that kind of fell over very like glamorously, very dramatically, and it's like right next to champagne, right? This took place, the engagement took place on like a set. So it wasn't like in the park or something. It was like, already set up, brought Taco Bell. I'm assuming that was because it was her favorite. But hear me out. If Taco Bell didn't sponsor this engagement, they should absolutely see if there's a way that they could sponsor the wedding itself. Bring a Taco Bell food truck for the after party. That will be everywhere, Taco Bell. Instead of like a cheesy gordita crunch, make it like a Selena gordita crunch or something and put like one weird thing that she likes. And there's a partnership in here. And after all of this, just in case you forget that Taylor Swift is the leader of Selena Gomez's like girl squad or girl group or whatever we called them for a while, Taylor commented on the post saying, quote, "Yes, I will be the flower girl." And Taylor, I love that. What? Did you discuss this previously, or is this kind of like a ha ha he he? Like, you are a millennial, and I understand if this is your millennial humor. And then finally on this, because I know all of you were wondering, what was Hailey Bieber's response? Was she all on board? Was she hateful? Did she love it? Is her man finally safe from the Jelena stands? Well, she liked the post. So that's kind of like a subtle like, good, thank you, or congrats, bye. Number 5, Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell fell and fucked up his wrist. And then just days later, former Speaker Nancy Pelosi fell and fucked up her hip. We do live in a gerontocracy, so it was only a matter of time before we start seeing some of the most powerful people in the Senate and the House getting the same treatment that Joe Biden has been getting for the past at least 4 years. On Tuesday, Mitch McConnell, who is the Republican Senate leader from Kentucky, fell following the Senate GOP lunch. It was immediately reported that he was receiving medical attention. On Thursday, so 2 days later, the spokesperson said, quote, "After tripping on Tuesday, Leader McConnell is experiencing leg stiffness and will work from home today." These are the same people, the Republican Party broadly, who were fighting against the ability for people being women who have children and couldn't come in to vote, people to vote from home by proxy. So it's like if I said, hey, AOC, I'm the representative from Washington, I'm sick, I have my child at home, I have whatever, can you go vote on my behalf? I vote this way. The Republicans fought against that ability to do so, and now Mitch McConnell could just like work from home because he's got leg stiffness. All right. After all of that, on Friday, we got news that the former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was admitted to a hospital during her congressional delegation trip to Luxembourg. Ian Krager, a spokesperson for the 84-year-old politician, I love Nancy, 84-year-old, said in a statement issued on Friday that she, quote, sustained an injury during an official engagement and was admitted to the hospital for evaluation. The injury occurred while she was traveling with a bipartisan congressional delegation in Luxembourg to mark the 80th anniversary of the Battle of the Bulge. I don't know what that is. Y'all can look that up yourself. I don't need that on my search history. We then found out later that day that she actually fractured her hip, which we go back to her being 84 years old. Doesn't seem great. At 84, if you then have to do rehabilitation practices, I'm calling it here first, and I don't necessarily want Nancy to go anywhere. It's really hard to focus on your physical therapy when you are also the most powerful woman in the House at the moment. We might end up seeing a Nancy Pelosi resignation sooner rather than later. It's a safe blue seat in San Francisco, but truly, like, I don't know how a fractured hip allows you to come back to Congress full time after the new year. Like, she might end up resigning before people get sworn in on February or January 6th, I think is the next swearing in. So wouldn't be surprised if she did resign and then we saw a special election in the new year. Number 4, famous NFL coach Bill Belichick has signed a 5-year deal to coach at the University of North Carolina. According to Time, the school announced that it had reached a 5-year deal with Belichick on Wednesday night, roughly a week after Belichick's name surfaced as an unlikely candidate to replace the program's winningest coach in Mac Brown. The deal requires approval by UNC trustees as well as the UNC Public Systems governors. An introductory news conference has yet to be scheduled. So there's still a lot of like flux there, but the deal has been agreed to. Time continues. Moving on from the 73-year-old Brown to hire the 72-year-old Belichick means UNC is turning to a coach who has never worked at the college level, yet had incredible success in the NFL alongside quarterback Tom Brady throughout most of his 24-year tenure with the Patriots, which ended last season. So he's newly retired. They swung him into North Carolina. In a statement, Bill Belichick said, quote, "I'm excited for the opportunity at UNC Chapel Hill. I grew up around college football with my dad and treasured those times. I have always wanted to coach in college, and now I look forward to building the football program in Chapel Hill." Belichick holds 333 career regular season and postseason wins in the NFL, trailing only Don Shula's 347 for the NFL record, while his 31 playoff wins are the most in the league history. But perhaps the most exciting thing about all of this is he gets to spend more time with his girlfriend, who is just about college age. Yeah, that's right. His girlfriend is 24 years old, which is 48 years younger than him. I'm sure this is only about love. Only about love. Number 3, there was some shit that happened with drones over New Jersey this week, which intrigued Fox News and CNN, meaning that we could probably all just ignore it until there's some sort of resolution. So according to USA Today, for the last month, New Jerseyans have reported odd lights in the sky at night, a rash of reported drone sightings that have attracted the attention of local residents, politicians, and even Donald Trump. Concerned witnesses have described clusters of lights, saying they look like drones hovering over populated areas around the state. Now sightings have even expanded to New York and Maryland. There have been rumors of aliens and spies and drones and human-driven, like little airplanes and whatever, but nobody knows what the fuck it is. And on Friday, John Kirby, who's the White House National Security Communications Advisor, said that the White House actually doesn't have enough information about these drones to make a decision on whether to shoot them down or not. But like I said, if Fox News and CNN are both interested in this and harping on this every second of every fucking day, you can probably disregard until we know the full story. Think back to the Chinese air balloon thing where that was covered. We don't know what it is. Is it alien? No, it's not aliens. It's never going to be aliens on national TV. Okay, we know so much less than the government tells us day in and day out. Why would we know about aliens before the government wants us to know about aliens? It's gonna just be some drones that some fucking guy in his mom's basement was flying for fun. That's all it's gonna be. That's all it really ever is. Number 2, Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly broke up just months before their baby is due. As a reminder, first and foremost, Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox have been on and off since 2020, so for the past 4 years, and I think they got engaged last year, and then a couple months ago, they announced their pregnancy via Instagram post. It was a whole thing. Allegedly, sources told TMZ that Machine Gun Kelly and Fox split during Thanksgiving weekend while visiting Vail, Colorado, after Megan Fox found, quote, upsetting content on the artist's phone. It's Machine Gun Kelly. It's also Megan Fox. It could be literally anything. And if Megan Fox thinks that it's disturbing, okay. This reportedly made Megan Fox want Machine Gun Kelly to exit the trip early, which he did. People then reported that she was, quote, distraught and, quote, blindsided by the split, meaning to me that this wasn't a mutual split. If she's blindsided by it, Machine Gun Kelly must have said, like, dude, I'm out. I don't know what to tell you. We're done. If she's blindsided by it, right? You can be distraught by like, oh my God, we broke up and I'm distraught about it. But blindsided means it was a one-person split. It was not mutual. According to other sources close to Megan, she is keeping her focus on her baby. Quote, the baby is due soon and Megan is trying to focus on that. It's her priority, which it should be. The baby's literally growing inside of you and you've just got a few months. Let's make sure that the kid comes out safely, first and foremost, and then figure out whatever the fuck drama is happening with Machine Gun Kelly. And finally, number 1, Luigi Mangione happened to the internet. Just broadly and generally happened to the internet. So in case that name means absolutely nothing to you, Luigi Mangione is the guy that allegedly shot the United Healthcare CEO in New York last week. The way he caught everyone's attention online was just by being incredibly good looking. Like, people were convinced that Dave Franco should be playing him in a Ryan Murphy remake type of good looking. Think about like Netflix's Monsters type of good looking, like just a very like classically Italian, charismatic, good looking dude in his like mid-20s. He was an Ivy League grad. He went to Penn. He came from one of the richest families in Maryland. He was the class valedictorian in high school. His cousin is actually a state legislator in Maryland. Just like, broadly never seems like the type of quote, he didn't seem like the type of guy that anybody would think would do something like this. Once again, it's all alleged because there are rumors online that he actually isn't the guy. If you look at his eyebrow, like distance, his eyebrow is much closer in distance than like the guy who was masked in the original picture's eyebrows. So unless he just like let his eyebrows grow closer together in like the 3 or 4 days, which I mean, he's Italian, I guess it could grow really fast. People are like, that doesn't look like the same type of guy. So he fled New York. He was, quote, on the run. And this is all allegedly, right? When I say he, this is the story that is being told because we do not know that this was the guy. This is the guy that was arrested for it. But just listen to some of the crazy shit here. And I'm going to like fully red string board myself in this. And it's going to make me sound crazy. And I promise I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just going to tell you the entire story of what the internet is talking about because it does make sense if you don't think about it like really deep or poke holes. So he fled New York to a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, where a McDonald's worker then called 911 and he was arrested at that McDonald's and taken into custody. Here's the video of him being taken into court just to show you that he actually was taken into court. So like Meta and Twitter and YouTube and everything like took down his accounts, but he gained so many fucking followers on that before. Like his Instagram page before he was pulled off of that amassed 65,000 followers in like within the first like couple hours, right? So now this is where it starts to get a little bit red string on wall in your mother's basement type of energy. So stay with me. I'm going to try to paint you a picture without going too deep into this. So on his Twitter header, there were 3 pictures. One was that shirtless picture that everyone was circulating, thirsting after him. The second was a picture of his x-ray of his back with like the nails in it that like were holding him together post-surgery. And the third was this random Pokemon. Okay, stay with me. The random Pokemon, I don't know what the fuck his name is, but apparently it was like Pokemon number 286. If you look up, I don't know how people found this out, Proverbs 286, it said something around like, it's better to have been poor and stand in your righteousness than rich and filled with corruption or something like that. Basically, it was like, it was a very specific thing, very Robin Hood-esque. Like it's better to be, you know, poor and fight for the good than rich and fight for the bad. Okay. 286. Somebody was like, oh, there's also only 286 posts on his Twitter. Weird. And then somebody went and found like this code in like the handbook to deny some sort of like medical assistance or whatever. And it was like code 286 and like another 286. And it said something like that this is the amount of time that you're able to delay somebody's like claim before you're able to deny it. Something like that. Okay. It was all connected. Remember how I told you that the McDonald's that he was arrested at was in Altoona, Pennsylvania, right? So his Instagram picture was just a picture of him holding a McDonald's like Happy Meal, whatever. Altoona, Pennsylvania is 286 miles away from New York. Altoona, Pennsylvania is also one of the stops on the Monopoly board. Okay. In New York, when he was fleeing, they found his backpack and it was filled with Monopoly money. Remember when McDonald's used to do McDonald's Monopoly? Okay. Like I said, this is, it's going to sound crazy. I'm just telling you what's on the internet. I don't necessarily believe this. I'm just telling you what's on the internet. So Altoona, Pennsylvania was where Monopoly was started. From what I gather, the person who started Monopoly started this company that owned a bunch of retirement homes or something that his dad became an investor in. Okay. There was some thinking online that between the monopoly and the healthcare, maybe he's making a big question mark about the fact that fast food and healthcare companies are a monopoly in the US, right? I told you this man was the valedictorian. He went to an Ivy League school. He's not an idiot. People were then pointing out Monopoly is not a game that you play alone, thinking that he is one of many people who are participating in this game. Then on YouTube, a video went live that had like a minute and 24-second countdown, right? And all it said was, if you're seeing this, I've already been arrested. There was like numbers because he was very smart. He was a data engineer. There were numbers. It was like the 100111011, you know, whatever, the code stuff. That was on the side of the video. Somebody backtracked that and put it into a decoder, and it came out to letters that said something like, the truth will come out soon. And then there was like a countdown for a second video, which we haven't seen yet. So that was crazy. That's all something where you're sitting there and you're going, huh, that's really weird. Then he was arrested at this McDonald's, and they said that whoever arrested him said that he had his backpack. He had some fake IDs. He had money. He had the gun or something like that in his backpack. Okay. He accused the cops of planting evidence, but he only said something like that. I don't know how the money got in there. And when they said like the backpack can hide RFID, whatever, all he said was like the backpack is waterproof. Those were like the two things he disputed, not the fake IDs, not the gun, I guess. But like people were like, okay, yeah, that's weird that he only like refuted two things. Like, I don't know how that money got there. And the backpack isn't an RFID backpack. It's like a waterproof backpack. Okay. Somebody then took a picture of the fake ID, and it was like the address on there, something Sherman, which related back to the Sherman Act, which was the first act in the US that stopped monopolization of the healthcare system. So that all is just, it's starting to compound. Then there's this video that I'll play in a second where he is yelling about how they are insulting the American intelligence and the collective lived experience. We can't tell who he's talking about because the police were rushing him inside, but here, just take a look.
It's completely out of touch. And it's an insult to the intelligence of the American people and its lived experience.
I mean, and then, like I said, he's very smart. He's even gotten some of his fellow inmates on his side already. Like, there was this News Nation interview that was live, and you could actually hear the inmates yelling answers to the reporter live from their cells. You can see the lights going on and off. It's really interesting. Just here's another video really quick.
Just from a few hours ago, and here they are, 10 o'clock as promised. They said earlier today, tell Ashley Banfield that Luigi is watching at 10 o'clock. I mean, obviously, you know, that's just a hard roast at this point because they're not near Luigi in any way.
Can I just ask the guys if they can hear me right now to answer yes or no very loud? Does Luigi have television in his single cell?
No.
Unreal. They said no, right? Obviously,
They
we
said
have a little
no.
bit of a
He
delay,
doesn't
but
have
they're
a
getting.
TV, and that's-
Yeah, they're getting the questions, and they're giving us the
They're
answers. So
getting
Luigi
it.
does not have. Wow, this is quite something. This is the strangest interview I've ever conducted.
Me too, Ashley. You know, according to the Department of Corrections, he's got his own solitary cell. It's not solitary confinement, but he's by himself. It's not dorm style. I'm not sure exactly what those guys got going on in terms of a living situation. It sounds like they're all clustered together. Isn't it interesting to see what accommodations that they have? They got their own light switches. They're obviously watching TV
They're all doing
past
it.
any sort of 10 o'clock curfew, you know. Yep, they're
Oh my
doing this for
gosh,
you.
look
They're
at this,
watching
Alex.
News Nation at this very moment.
So like people online, like Ted Cruz, were calling him a leftist with no proof, saying like leftism is a mental disorder. But it's like his social media just reposted a lot of Tucker Carlson. And so everyone was like trying to make this about left and right. But something really interesting, at least online, has happened where suddenly this feels very not left and right, but it feels very class solidarity. And I'm not talking about the entire like, is he a hero or is he a bad guy for shooting a CEO? I'm talking about the fact that people are having actual discussions about the state of our healthcare industry. And obviously this is all very new, but it's interesting to see how the action of this young man has actually started a conversation that we've not been able to have in this country since our founding days. I don't know. The entire season finale of 2024 has gotten really fucking wild, and we just got to see what the coming weeks have for us as we wrap out the year. Okay, that's it. That's all the information we have this week. Please do not forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel or follow, I guess technically, the podcast on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts at Ben Keenan Just Can't Stop Talking. If you would rather find me on social media, I'm at Ben Keenan on Instagram. I use Threads over there, same name. I also am on I've Been Traveling at TikTok for as long as TikTok will not be banned. That's an entire conversation to have post January 19th, and we'll see what that looks like. If you have followed me for a while, please leave a review. It pushes the algorithm to show this to more people if you do. And we'll talk to you next week where there's more things happening because per usual, there's always something happening. All right. Thanks.